I know we're crunched for time. Uh, LeBron James.
Yeah.
I think that this is a talking point that we're going to definitely talk about. First of all, before we get into the retirement rumors, LeBron James is going to have foot surgery. There's a report on that. I think that he's going to be out for 2 months. Obviously he was favoring his foot in a lot of these playoff games. And he is known to have torn a tendon, I believe, in his foot, which is going to require surgery. And like I said, going to be out for 2 months. But the more surprising thing that we didn't really mention, or at least I didn't mention talking about all these games, was the fact that LeBron James has kind of hinted at retirement during his post game interview. And I believe that him and Anthony Davis did not give out exit interviews for the Lakers. And so, Pete, we talked about this a little bit in our chat, but what do you make of the rumors that LeBron James is going to be retiring? Do you believe them? Do you not believe them? And what do you think is LeBron James's ultimate move?
There's I would go so far as to say a 0% chance he retires. Like a real retirement. There's just no
Yeah.
way. I think it's more if there is even any semblance of a retirement, it's a 1-year hiatus, right? And I still don't think that's going to happen. I think he loves playing basketball too much to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he'd sacrifice a year. I think it's as simple as this. He's putting the heat on not only the Lakers, but everybody around him, right? He announced today he isn't retiring. He was never going to retire, no matter what. It just wasn't going to happen. It's a simple. It's a move to pressure the people around him to understand his time is limited. They already know that, but he's saying even more so. I'm almost 40. I'm hurt because I'm old. You need to make sure you help me out, or I truly am gonna go. I'm gonna go do something else because he doesn't need to be where he is right now, right? I mean, he has all the leverage in every situation he's always been in, pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
especially now. Especially now.
Yeah.
Um, he has really forged the NBA into what it is in terms of the player, roulette of moving around and going to these different spots. I just think it's as simple as this. He's putting himself in the best position to go win another ring as possible. Whether that's with
Mm-hmm.
the Lakers or not, I don't know. I would put it like this. He's got 3 options, and they're all in varying degrees of likelihood. Lowest percentage is that he takes a year off. I don't see it happening. I would be astounded by that. There's no way. 2, he's really considering wanting to move teams again. He's not going to leave California. There's just no way. Not with Bronny going to USC. He's not going to move the year his son decides to go to, Southern California University. That's just not happening. But I mentioned this in our chat, Bernie. I've heard some people floated around there. I think it makes more sense than it ever has before. LeBron to the Warriors, I honestly don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. He fills the
You don't think
exact hole that the
you think the
Warriors need.
Warriors? Interesting. Okay.
And here's the thing. This is the reason I think it's really different, Bernie. Neither This is the first time I would argue in the entirety of the Warriors dynasty where they look more fragile than LeBron. Like their position is more fragile than his in terms of the conscience of or what's the word I'm looking for? The consensus of NBA fans, right? Like I feel like his reception to moving, there would certainly be a lot of people who would give him a ton of grief for going to the Warriors. However, they were discombobbled and not good enough where I do think people would say, oh, they need LeBron,
Mm-hmm.
unlike the difference with KD going there, right? And we saw one thing I thought was really interesting about the Warriors-Lakers series, Bernie, and I don't know if you noticed this either. There was like real heated moments when the Cavs and the Warriors used to play. Like they did not like each other. That was not the case with the Warriors and Lakers. Like you could see the respect and admiration that they all had for each other. In so much so that Draymond didn't really play like Draymond in that series. And I would argue it's the reason they lost. Like Draymond was not up to his normal level of Draymond-ness in that
It's,
series. And
it's He took the. Is it because he's clutch? He's part of the clutch familia.
I
You
just
think?
think his perception of LeBron is dramatically different than it's ever been. And I would say if there's ever a time where, Draymond is making the KD version of his phone call to LeBron, it's this season. This is the season. Let's all go get a fifth one together and ride off into the sunset. We can, cap off all of our, 2010s dynasty runs on either side of the NBA all as one unit and do it. Now, do I think that this is more likely than the final situation? No, I don't. I still think that's kind of a long shot, but I think it's more likely than it ever has been before. Third is he's simply just pressuring the Lakers to make more moves. It's
Yep.
that simple. He's saying, "Hey, you guys have to sign these young guys I want to play around. Reeves,
Mm-hmm.
Rui, have to pay them. You have to go get somebody else."
Yep.
I genuinely think the Kyrie rumors are overblown. I I I just
Yeah.
don't think that it makes any sense for him to be a Laker because it can't keep Reeves or Rui if they go sign Kyrie to a max. They can't do that. One.
Mm-hmm.
And two, everybody thinks it's so simple that Kyrie and LeBron are like locked into this destiny of playing together again. And I just don't think that's true. I think
Little
Kyrie
Romeo and
wants the
Juliet.
money. I think Kyrie wants the money more than winning, and LeBron wants to win more than he cares about anything else,
Yeah.
more than getting guys paid. So I think he's going to be a Laker again next season. I think they're going to try and bring back Reeves and Rui. I just think they're going to end up making another big move. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
who it's going to be,
Yeah.
but they're going to have to go get a third star. I think that's really what he wants. LeBron wants to be the third guy. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to come across as the third guy, but like physically on the court, he wants to be the third guy. You know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
needs, and I think he finally understands that AD just doesn't have that gear. Like we talked about this a lot in our chat in the final couple games, and I bemoaned how frustrated I was about AD in that final
Mm-hmm.
closeout game against the Nuggets. Like he does not have that drive to take himself to that place where the greats really do. That final gear of I refuse to go down like this. He just doesn't have it. And I think LeBron finally understood. If he doesn't have that, AD certainly is not going to bring it. We
Yeah.
need somebody else. So I'm interested.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about it, Bernie? Sorry, I
Yeah. I
went
mean,
for so long.
no, you're good. I mean, I just think that it's a nothing sandwich, just like you talked about. I mean, again, LeBron James leaving 2 years, 97.1 million on the table. That's not going to happen. That's way too much money. Anybody, I don't care how old you are. I will literally make up fake injuries just to, to get 2 years. Uh,
Sorry to
97
already
point.
interrupt you. Can I push back just a little bit? I actually think it's less about the money.
Well, I know that, but in terms of just like the money, in terms of
I think
like,
he would walk from the money. I really do.
I
He
don't
could
think
he
so,
could go
man.
get Bernie. He could go get $97 million
Yes, he could.
in his sleep. Bernie, he could
He
get
could.
that in his sleep
Yeah,
anywhere, and
I'm,
he could retire and make more money than that.
but I don't know. To me, I just think that the LA area for him is too nice. I just think he likes it too much that I don't
I agree
necessarily
with
think
that.
that he'll want to leave. Plus, his son's playing there. Plus, Bryce, his younger son, is also playing at Sierra Canyon. So I definitely don't see him retiring anytime soon.
No,
Maybe in the next year or two once Bronny's in the league. But I think at the end of the day, what it boils down to is what you said. Like LeBron James is tired of having to carry the team and really consistently carry the team because we know at this point in LeBron's career, he's not going to be a guy that gives you 40 plus points in 3 or 4 straight games. He's going to give you one or two in a series. And so you need to be ready for that moment. And
hmm
to be ready for that moment, AD has to step up his post moves. I mean, he needs to develop some sort of game because right now I don't know what signature move or what thing that AD does well that besides defense, but like
I
what
mean
what is
defense. He was so good on defense in the playoffs. He has no solid offense consistently.
there's not like a go-to move for AD, and that's kind of the
Yeah.
frustrating part. I mean, we see guys like Jokic have different moves. Like we know I mean everyone likes the step back behind the back stuff. I mean, that's not really a move. But in terms of like Jokic, he has post moves and post ability to go score the basket at the rim. He has his floater. Like AD needs to develop something in the offseason, needs to work with Phil Handy. Again, I'm a Phil Handy guy, as you can tell. But, needs to work with him or whoever, not Lethal Shooter, because Lethal Shooter doesn't do jack for anybody.
You don't
Um,
think Drew Hanlon should come out?
Drew Hanlon should stay far away. I think everybody should be going to Phil Handy. All basketball players should be going to Phil Handy.
I think they should be contacting Bernie. That's my thing.
I'm more of a coach than a trainer. But, I just
I
think
don't
that
know.
for me, what I would love to see more than anything for the Lakers is getting that third superstar. And Sean, talk about who would they get? It has to be Kyrie or no one, right?
Nah, there's other guys.
I think Trey Young. I think there's a little smoke with the fire with Trey Young. I know a lot of people are gonna. I know you're not gonna like that one.
I don't think they have enough to get him. I think you're in the right realm though. It's a guy in the same position as Trey. It's somebody like that, but maybe like half a tier below Trey. Like Levine or DeRozan, I still think make a lot of sense. It has to be somebody who can eat up shots. It has to be.
The problem with Levine is I feel like he's too inconsistent. That's my.
Trust me, I'm not saying he's a perfect fit. I'm just saying it literally has to be somebody in the realm of, that 15 shots a game, somebody who can shoot threes.
Could they get Dame? You think they have the assets to get Dame?
If they don't have the assets for trade, they don't have the assets for Dame. They don't. Neither of them make sense. Here's my top 5 candidates. It's DeRozan, it's Levine, it's Bradley Beal. Those 3 are easy choices. Okay. I hate to pick another Wizards player. Honestly, no, I still don't think I don't think Kuzma's all that far off of like they bring him back and he just scores for them. I hate that. I'm not gonna put him as my 4th. I hate that too much. Who was the other person I was just thinking about? Here, Brent, I'm gonna give you another one. I don't know if they should do this, but I think somebody like Randall is very available.
I know you want to get rid of him. I know you want to get rid of him.
I'm just saying they have to think in the realm of who can we afford, who's definitely above average. They literally have to be somebody who can shoot threes. That's undeniably factual proof. Like they need somebody who shoots threes with LeBron. And I think Randall proved a lot of people wrong. Like he can shoot threes. He's a good shooter. He's just inconsistent, in a mental mess. I'm not saying that's who it's going to be. He's definitely available and better than what he's going to be available for is kind of my point.
You're a great used car salesman, man. I think you would sell a ton of cars.
Hey, and Sean just named my 5th one. I think Chris Middleton is someone definitely in the realm of availability. They could go get him for a very reasonable price, and he can eat up a lot of shots. Those are literally the exact types of guys they need.
Yeah.
If I was them, Bernie, if I was truly them, I would be doing every single thing imaginable to turn AD into two players. Turn him into, like, here's just an example, all right? Turn him into, like, and this is a terrible
Randall
deal. People are going to be really... Here's Randall and Fournier for AD. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm saying, like, and none of this makes sense financially. I'm just saying the types of players they should swap around. What about somebody like, let's say, definitely a downgrade. Let's say somebody like Porzingis and Beal, right? Okay. A deal like that where you get center who can replace AD, somebody who's definitely more of an offensive threat than AD. I would consider KP a better offensive player than Anthony Davis at this point in time, right? He can definitely shoot threes much better than AD. And then Beal, and you get this upgrade of one position for sure is severely upgraded, and then the other is maybe only a slight downgrade. Do you know what I'm trying to say? You're getting value over at multiple positions over just the one. I do think like that is the type of deal they need to be looking for. Like something where I just don't think they have a lot of stuff to turn into other things. Like D'Lo is not worth anything to anybody on planet Earth. Nobody's taking D'Lo in a sign and trade if you drove him there and paid for his rent for the next 2 years. Nobody's taking him. Nobody wants him. They don't have anything they can trade, Bernie. That's kind of their biggest issue. So they're going to have to move somebody they don't really want to move. And I think AD is the guy that they should move, personally. Yeah. What about this, Bernie? Let me give you another idea. What if they called up Minnesota? They're like, hey, Minnesota, here's AD, here's
We'll give you
AD.
Cat.
Give us Cat, and they need to give something else. Let's say it's Cat and I'm trying to even think. Let's say it's Cat and Nas Reed. Give us those two guys for AD, uh, and then we'll figure out the rest of our roster. I don't think that's a terrible idea either. I don't think it makes them a better. I mean, defensively they're much worse, so they'd have to fix some spots on their roster. But I don't know, man. They're in a really tough spot. This might have been their best chance with their current
Yeah.
construction.
Well, I mean, they should have. Obviously, you have to strike when the deal is hot. But I just think that the
Miles
problem is
Turner
they just needed to wait.
should have done that. Miles Turner Buddy Healed one early in the season.
Yeah, I mean that should have been one that they done, but it's just frustrating because I think the Lakers had the opportunity. Like if they were able to do these trades that they did earlier in the season, I think that they would have a little bit more cohesion and more unity. It's kind of the same thing when you deal with a LeBron James team in the last couple of years now, is that you're going to be making moves mid-season to late season, and what do you do? Like, there's no way to gain that sort of camaraderie, that sort of touch or presence that you're looking
Mm-hmm.
for when you get them so late in the season. Like, they have to learn a whole different system, whole different scheme. But I just think for me, like, LeBron James is looking to be the third option on the team now. And unfortunately, all the trades besides the superstar ones, maybe Bradley Beal makes the most sense, but um,
Fortunately for them, he does make the most sense.
it would just be unfortunate for LeBron to deal with, guys that can't score and, to create stuff for themselves. I think LeBron James wants to be uh less and less relied on than what he has been throughout these last couple of years. And so,
Sure.
I just think that for the Lakers, they need to start looking at what players fit their stuff, what things that they should do. But, at the end of the day, the Lakers, like you said, don't really have a lot of assets. Rui can sign elsewhere. He's not legally obligated and there's no rules that say he
Somebody's
has.
going to overpay him too. I would
Yeah.
bet somebody will send an overpay for him.
Well, I think people are going to pay for him and Reeves. I could see both of those guys.
Reeves for sure. The good thing with Reeves is that they do have some financial rules in their favor with Reeves because he's their guy.
Yeah.
Like they picked him up first. Um,
But the
yeah,
issue
somebody's going to send him a contract they probably can't match.
Yeah, I mean the issue is going to be too with the new second level tax apron
Yeah,
thing that came up. It's going to be harder and harder to keep your team together, and so what.
that apron stuff. I got to look into that. That's maybe something we should talk about like in depth as we get into the off season a little bit.
Yeah,
Like
I
do
mean
some research and
basically
understand
it
it.
just means that you can't really keep the same guys over because you have the tax is just so high.
Yeah.
and,
What is it? It
and
goes into like a repeater tax basically where it just starts like compounding on itself the longer you keep
yeah,
a guy like that.
yeah.
It's,
I mean,
I think that's kind of stupid.
there's just a lot of stuff. I think what they want is a little bit more parity in the league, and I think that that's what they're kind of looking for. And for these teams to not like sign mid-level exception guys, like for example, one for me would be, a couple years back when DeMar DeRozan, before he signed to Chicago, um, he was a guy that would have been a mid-level exception player for the Lakers, and that's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, no, that's just not it. And we know every season, Bernie, people teams that go on like runs like this Lakers team, right? Have young dudes who outperform expectations, maybe show what people thought they could be, and
Hmm.
they're coming up on expiring deals every single time. Works very similar to when a guy who's kind of like a semi highly touted recruit, somebody who had a good regular season in college basketball, has a crazy March Madness, and then they
Yeah,
get drafted 15 spots too high. It's the same
exactly.
thing.
Yeah,
Somebody like Rui is going to end up making like $20 million a season. I'm sorry, Rui has not shown he's worth that much consistently enough to get that contract.
he's
However,
worth every penny.
he's not. He's going to get it though. Somebody's going to pay him that. Somebody's going to pay Reeves 98.7 million, his max available contract.
Mhm.
Um, See, I think Reeves, I'd be shocked if he gives up the opportunity to play with LeBron. He just seems like a guy that gets it, and if he's close to the amount he would make somewhere else, I think he's going to stay. Can we? Do you have anything else to say on this? I have few questions I want to ask you as we start wrapping up.
The only thing I'll say, Man, I had my train of thought. No, I just lost it.
I'm so sorry. I totally interrupted you. My
No, no, no,
bad.
you're good. You're good. I'm just trying to think of it. Oh, that was it. I don't know why Sean's comment made me think of it. But I think we also need to start looking at, especially when we talk, and I think we'll talk more about it when we mention the apron tax once again. To me, the biggest issue is that, like you talked about with Rui not being worth that much money, um, is
He
that
might be worth that much.
is that right now, like the NBA is overpaying for their assets, right? Because
Yep.
there's no reason to not overpay, because then you can start making trades, the trades make sense. And that to me is the biggest issue with the NBA in terms of contract wise, is that we need to start paying people what they're worth and not
Yeah.
overpaying for stuff like that happened. Like to me, the biggest one was the Otto Porter Jr. deal that happened way
Oh
back,
my God.
back when the whole, I would say like
Mozgov too. I think of
Mozgov.
Mozgov and I think of Otto Porter. Those are my
Like
top
those
two.
are two guys. Like there's no reason those guys should be getting those type of contracts, but with the way that the NBA league is structured, the way that everything is, they are going to get that money, and that's
Alan Crabb.
yeah, and that's kind of the thing that the league needs to understand, and hopefully that's what the reason why they put in this rule is so we can start paying players their appropriate salary. There's a lot of guys with inflation. There's inflation in the league,
There's
and people
inflation in the league.
there's some inflation league, and not saying that these guys aren't worth some good money, but you can't tell me that some of these guys are worth over 120. Like all of them are not worth over 120.
Not all of
Uh,
them, no. There's
and
money to
and
go around at that point.
and that's the problem with the league at this current moment, is that everybody that is a young player going into their next contract that wasn't an all-star, that didn't get the all NBA team or all defensive team or any of the awards, becomes a 120, or I think now it's going to be 140 type of player. And it's just,
Yeah.
they're not worth that much money. And that's what I think the league needs to crack down on as a group and a collective. Again, I don't want to take anybody's bread away, but in order for these teams to be competitive, in order for these teams to keep the
Yeah.
rosters that they want, they have got to lower the wages for some of these players that are not worth that much money.
Yeah, you do. And I think the one thing I do understand about this new contractual situation, like the apron stuff, is that they've made it essentially what they've done is made it where you do not benefit as an organization from having extra cap space as much as you used to, right?
Yeah.
Like not paying those mid-level guys and kind of just holding off and skirting around the edges so you save money and get it back
Hmm.
later on. That is not really how it's going to work. So like teams like, let's say, the Pistons, right? He kind of got ahead of the ball by making that contract with Bogdanovich last year. But teams like that in the future, they're going to make those like Austin Reevesy type signings where they do reach out and say, hey, we have this extra cap space. We don't even know if we want you long term, but here's an $18 million contract for 4 seasons. Let's pick you up and then we'll figure out what we can do with you later on, right? Like we're going to just see more and more of that, which
Hmm.
in that sense, I do like that. Like the NBA is saying, hey, the teams that don't want to spend money are now incentivized to spend more of it. Not go crazy, but just say, hey, we do need to pay these guys so we don't have because really every year it's what there's like the rush of free agency. You have the first like
Yep.
let's say it's like 15 guys off the free agency board get really good contracts, and then it's like dirt minimum. You
Yep.
know, it's the absolute bare minimum you can
Hmm.
sign the rest of your roster for.
Exactly.
That's the type of stuff that's going to change, and in that way, I like that. Um, just the other stuff is going to be really interesting to see.
Exactly. And let us know in the comment section down below. What do you guys make of all this? Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? LeBron James, third guy. Who is it going to be? Let us know in the comment section down below.